Hi, I'm Blake Repine, and welcome to Strategy, Leadership, and Impact. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Strategy, Leadership, and Impact. I hope you've been well since the last time you tuned in. If you're listening for the first time or you like this episode and you've been listening for a long time, make sure you give us a like, make sure you give us a subscribe or a follow on whatever platform you listen on. If you have a topic or something you would like for me to talk about or address, or if you have any feedback on any of the topics I've talked about or even this episode, feel free to contact me through email at blakerepine@gmail.com, or you can also connect with me through LinkedIn and message me through there. Just search my name, Blake Repine. I believe I'm the only person on LinkedIn with that name, and you should find me. Quick update in regards to my book, Soldier to Executive, Applying Army Leadership Principles to the Corporate World. It's currently being considered for the Australian Business Book Awards for 2020, and it's being considered in 3 categories: leadership, management and HR, and cover design. I guess the finalists and the recipients will be announced during a virtual ceremony on the 25th of November. So I'm very excited, and of course be a bit of anticipation leading up to the 25th of November. Might be a finalist, might win, you never know, or might not do anything at all. Again, you never know, but we're hoping that we have the best outcome possible. For this episode, I've interviewed a longtime friend and colleague of mine, Jane Williams. And Jane's background is in nursing, primarily in rural and remote communities. She's been a nurse for a number of years. She's been on the board of the Central West Hospital and Health Service, which I'm also on the board of as well. She's been on that board since 2012, and she's currently the chair and has been for the number of years. But she's also on a number of other boards. She's currently on the Health and Wellbeing Queensland Board, Workforce Queensland Board, the Royal Flying Doctor Service Foundation Board, and the Queensland Music Festival Board. So as you can see, she's a very experienced board member and chair. She's also quite good to work with. She's also extremely passionate about improving the lives of the people in the communities in rural and remote Queensland, particularly Western Queensland. So without further ado, let's get on with the interview, and I hope you enjoy. Good morning, Jane. How are you doing?
Hello, Blake. I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good. And this wonderful, beautiful day out in Longreach. So looks like we're going to have sunshine as we do, I think, for 300 plus days a year.
Yeah, almost for the last 10 years, really.
Yeah. Bit of an ongoing drought for nearly a decade now. So again, thanks for joining us this morning. I've already introduced you to our listeners, and the first question I'd like to ask you that really they probably want to know about as well is, so you're currently the chair of the Central West Hospital Health Service Board. You're also on a number of other boards. And just tell us a little about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
It's a bit of an interesting story, really, Blake, in that I never really planned for how this has evolved and being on a number of boards. I guess I've always been keen to make a difference and be involved in how things are done. If you really analyse yourself and look back and think, what's within you. And then opportunities have presented themselves. And initially some of those opportunities I was certainly very nervous about doing them, but there were great mentors people that have become great mentors and supporters of me that saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself. So with opportunity and support and encouragement, and from me, keen enthusiasm to learn and be the best you can be and help other people, that's how the process evolved. So as opportunities came, I was invited to apply for different things. Part of me, with the inferiority complex that I think a lot of us have, you think, oh no, I couldn't do that. And then anyway, so now for those that are listening, if you're thinking the same way that I used to think, you just think, look, this is an opportunity. I'm not sure which way it's going to go, but just put your hand up and have a go and do the best you can. And you gradually get to meet a large amount of people that become great friends and allies and supporters, and you learn from them and your skill set increases and you become better at what you do.
That's really good. You said early on you had a bit of nervousness and also that kind of lack of confidence in a way. And I actually haven't seen that because I see you in a different light. Of course, you've already are the chair and you're a very confident person. But do you still sometimes struggle with that?
Yeah. Not as often as I used to, and quite often now I just give myself an uppercut, really, which, I mean that in the nicest possible way, to say just all of us, I think, have days where you think you could be better or you doubt yourself. But I think experience and good colleagues, and another thing I think to remember is you can't be good at everything, but finding people and surrounding yourself with people that have a huge skill set and you know where to go to get assistance or to get advice. I think that's another huge benefit that I've learnt.
Oh, that's really good, and some really good advice there too. I think for anyone that is potentially looking at either their first board role or moving up. Mm-hmm. So, being the chair of a hospital health service in the current environment that we're in with COVID-19.
Not much going on at all, really, Blake. Yep.
So I can imagine that you've been, well, I know that you've been very busy. But tell us a little bit about the leadership that the board's had to provide through COVID-19 and also some of the challenges as well that the board has faced.
Well, I don't think it's just this board, Blake. I think it's boards throughout the world. So all of us are facing very challenging times, and a lot of what we're facing, the answer is unknown. So trying to plan strategically and look at what's coming, you can do the best that you can, but as we see every day, the situation changes, and it's changed throughout the world. Some, has improved, some has got worse, but while COVID's around, I think the challenges are going to continue. The points that, for me, that are really important when you think about COVID and a relationship with our workforce and our communities in the Central West is maintaining their access to service, but most importantly, safety and the quality aspect, so that they have accessibility and reassurance to be able to come to our health facilities and seek help when it is needed. And that process, through working with the executive team here, that has evolved and been set up.
So do you think there might have been potential patients in need of services that might not have presented at one of our health facilities because of fear of COVID? Or
I think in the early days, and it's not. I don't just for this point. I don't just talk in Central West. I think early days and the feedback and readings that I've done, a lot of people didn't present to places for fear of contracting COVID, and that would probably still continue. I think in a lot of the hotspots that are going, and particularly with people at risk, it's totally understandable that would be the case.
So has that changed the business model in a sense to still be able to provide services to those people but outside the facilities?
Yeah, and that it has changed the business model, and you can see that throughout how we've, as a whole of a health service, have adapted. There's pop-up clinics, there's telephone consultations, there's nurse-led swabbing. They're just a few of the clinical components that come to mind easily. There's much more going on than that, but they're just a few of the things that you think of easily. I think the telehealth component, by that I mean the capacity for doctors to ring patients and consult over the phone, I think that has been a really huge benefit to people and offered great reassurance. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that is not the direction of which you should be going, but it has been a great way to provide service for people. Yeah.
And do you imagine once we kind of get through this COVID pandemic that a lot of those services will remain in place, that'll be kind of a new business model?
Yeah, I think if you'd said to us a year ago, you're going to be doing, telehealth consultations, you won't have to go to your meetings, you'll be doing all this, we would have all just gone, oh yeah, that doesn't happen. But it's in some ways there have been great learnings for that sort of thing from COVID that has changed how we do business, and carrying those ideas forward, I think not only is it beneficial to our patients, which to me that's absolutely the most important thing, and to our staff, but also as a cost-effective manner in which we can save money and how we do business.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. I can remember a couple of years ago, probably a few years ago now, when I was still working for Central Queensland University, the Vice Chancellor at the time, Scott Bowman, had us develop a pandemic policy.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought, this is ridiculous. We'll never use this. And now looking back, you go, he was a genius, because here we are, a few years later, and we're right in the middle of it. So, yes, these unexpected things sometimes you come up, and you really have to be flexible and really be able to do it. But,
I look back through the clinical experience that I've had when you talk about what you've done, and you're like, oh, well, I've dealt with a really severe flood. I've lived through a really severe drought. I've lived through bushfires and been involved in managing all of those. And now a pandemic.
So you're almost feeding all the major disasters.
What more could you want?
You just need an earthquake and a couple of things and you'll be right.
Yeah, that'll fit. Or perhaps a volcano, but the chances of that in Western Queensland.
Pretty slim, but you never know.
Yeah.
So never say never.
Yeah, never. Maybe I won't send that one out there, Blake. I'll just let that one go.
Don't wish that on us. But, so going back to board role, and ask you another question here. If you had to give someone advice who was looking for their very first board role, what would that be?
So I would encourage you to do the AICD course first. That's just
the company director's course.
Company director's course. But I would also suggest that you think about what you're interested in, but also don't doubt your skill set of what you have, because everyone brings something different to the table. And just because you're not, I'll use an example of myself. So I'm on the Queensland Music Festival board.
Yeah.
When I joined that board, I was like, man, I am a hopeless singer. Like,
do they require you to sing as a board member?
Sometimes they do, but
okay.
we've moved on through that. And I thought, I'm not very good at music. I learnt the piano for a couple of years at school, which was never my strong point. And you think, what do you bring? But there's a whole other side. So my health component with mental health and the other interests that I have in that field has been something that, I've been really able to bring, and the benefit that music brings to people, and that as the Queensland Music Festival Board, how we bring that to communities throughout Queensland. So I hope that's an analogy that people can take away. But my other points would be is start to develop networks of great people and mentors that you relate to and you can learn from, and they have your back and they support you. And it takes a little while for that to happen. My other point that's probably a little negative is just try not to hang out or wind up with people that are idiots, really, I would say. I've got another word, but for the purposes of this, we'll just go with that. But on a positive note, really, I think, as I said, look for the opportunities, get good mentors, ask questions. If you don't know, all of us are in a place where we don't know things all the time. It's like I said, we all have a different skill set. And just gradually just look at the opportunities, grasp them with two hands as they come at you, and then gradually more opportunities arrive. That's would be my simple approach, Blake.
No, that's really good. Thank you for that. And then one more question. For someone who's currently on a board, who is aspiring to potentially be a chair of a board one day, what type of advice would you give them?
First of all, I would hope that you would have the leadership skills that, and the skill set to be a chair. Then I'd be looking at talking to your chair. If you're in a board already, expressing your interest, looking at where your moves want to be, or where you want to go, so that there's that open communication on the board that you're on.
And so you said leadership skills required of a board chair. Excuse me. What type of leadership skills would those be? Just give us the top three.
It's not just leadership skills. I think there has to be a connection with people. You have to have trust and an open communication style. You have to be able to talk and be clear in your communication, and you have to be able to stand up and make tough decisions at times. There's some of the simple things. But I think ability to be inclusive and listen openly to people and respond appropriately, I think they are key factors that are good for a good chair. But also another point is the ability to network and build relationships. That has been something that I've really valued and has been a great benefit to me.
Well, that's really good. Thank you for that. And I could say, just from my experience of being on the board here for, about 2.5, almost 3 years, that we actually have a very strong board. I think we all, it's not about getting along, but we all work really well together.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is an openness for robust discussion, I guess, to say it, and everybody is very open to that, and which makes it a really good board environment, which is what you need.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, Blake, it's that everyone has something different to bring to the table, but the ability to listen and take on board what people say and have respect, and perhaps even reevaluate your thought process on a decision making through, open, robust discussion that happens.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Somebody bring up for their point of view and go, "Well, I haven't thought about that." And it does change your thinking, so which is quite good.
And that's what it's all about.
Well, that's been really good, but we'll probably wrap it up there. But I want to thank you very much. I know that you're a very busy person. I know we're actually about to go into a board meeting, but thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And all the best, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blake.